Today I'm reviewing the Complete Beginner's Guide to Greenhouse Gardening, a month-by-month planting book to grow 365 days a year by Richard Bray, and it was published this very year, 2022, in Berlin, Germany. So the first observation of this book is that it is a no-frills printing. It's by Monkey Press. Never heard of Monkey Publishing. Anyway, types of greenhouses. This chapter deals with semantics, because to be called a greenhouse means that it must allow the gardener to control the temperature and environment, whereas anything else that does not allow you to do this is called a cold frame. Anyway, he describes all the different types of greenhouses and cold frames there are and the pros and cons of each. There he has a nice fancy chart for you. Greenhouse planning, construction, and environment. It's a pretty basic chapter on everything needed for a greenhouse, from building materials to flooring to heating and cooling to lighting and watering. Something I learned was that the temperature in a greenhouse should not exceed 81 degrees Fahrenheit in order to prevent harm to the plants. Growing in your greenhouse. The thing the author stresses the most in this chapter is in order to grow successfully, you must monitor the temperature. And for every layer of protection, you gain 1.5 zones. So for me, in zone 7, if I have a greenhouse, I should be able to plant zone 8 vegetables. And if I add a row cover to my greenhouse, I can plant zone 10. So that's pretty cool to know. Greenhouse Gardening Month-by-Month Planting Guide. He gives ideas on what to plant for a Zone 5 location, and then at the end of the chapter for a southern location he gives a bit of advice. The best idea being to plant all tall tropical plants like bananas that can give sun protection for the vegetables while inside the greenhouse. Gardening by type of vegetable, fruit, and herb. This actually was a pretty useful chapter, the best chapter in the book in my opinion. I was wondering if corn could be planted in a greenhouse, but he advises against it. And yeah, he gives guidelines about when and how to plant each vegetable, and whether to start it in the ground or in a container. Chapter 6 is space utilization and companion planting. This was another useful chapter. I really liked his chart on companion planting, what is friend and what is foe. And he also stresses how important it is to keep a clean greenhouse and wash it at least once a year. The final chapter is just a little summary on each pest and disease you could get in your greenhouse and how to control it. So, about the author. Richard's father was a keen gardener, and that is where his interest in all natural things began. As a youngster, he enjoyed nothing better than helping his father in the garden. Nowadays, he finds himself at the opposite end of life. Having had a satisfying career, he now has time to potter around in his garden and take care of his small homestead. Much of the food on his dinner table is homegrown. He likes to experiment with various gardening methods and find new ways to grow bountiful crops year-round. He wants to share his knowledge, showing how easy and rewarding it is to set up your own prosperous garden. In his opinion, you do not need a huge budget to get started. When you do get started, you would soon feel and taste the benefits of growing your own food. And you can learn more about him at Amazon.com, author Richard Bray. So, my final thoughts. This definitely is a book you could read in one evening. I took my time reading it, but it is a fast read. Overall, I'm afraid this book was not that helpful in steering me in the direction of what greenhouse to get. I was hoping for more concrete answers. And this book is very much for beginners, like people who have never gardened even. It was a bit too basic for me, and I was distracted by the publishing. The editing was not good. I'll show you an example here. Here he's talking about oregano, but then it says, After you've overwintered your oregano plants, wait until room temperatures get above 65 degrees and then uncover the pots and water the plants. New growth will appear soon. A perennial that does best in hot, dry climates, rosemary, can be grown in the greenhouse, but may need special care during the winter. Plant it in containers that can be moved around easily to suit the herb's needs. Well, the rosemary is in the next section. It's not in the oregano section, but they kind of mess things up with this editing. I'm probably a bit too picky. But anyway, and the pictures are all fuzzy in my opinion, so I wasn't really impressed by that. I hate to be hard on the guy, but I'd only give this book 2 stars. It may be useful for somebody, but it wasn't that useful for me. And like I said, the quality of the book just feels cheap to me.